Half in the bag. Fuck movies. So, Jay, did you hear that Mr. Plinkett's house was finally demolished to make room for that new expressway?
Well, I mean, I knew they were going to do it, but I haven't talked to Mr. Plinkett since we left his house last time.
Yeah, you know how they're smashing houses now?
How?
With giant robots.
Holy shit, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I saw it. I was there. A giant robot came up and smashed his house, smashed the house next to it, the house next to that, and then they started building the expressway.
Oh, that's great.
By the way, have you seen Grown Ups 2?
What the hell is going on?
First kaiju made land in San Francisco. The second attack hit Manila. Then the third one hit Cabo. And then we learned this was not gonna stop.
Pacific Rim is the latest film from visionary fantasy and horror filmmaker Guillermo del Toro. The story takes place in a futuristic world that's been ravaged by giant Godzilla monsters that travel to our world through a magical portal at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. To stop these violent creatures, humans decide to watch the movie Robot Jocks and tons of anime to get a few ideas. What follows is lots of punching, destruction, horrible fake foreign accents, and unnecessary close-ups of Ron Perlman's face. So Mike, what did you think of Pacific Rim?
Jay, I thought Pacific Rim was a very, very, very good asylum movie.
Oh, no! Actually, that's pretty accurate.
Concept and certain scenes. Some of the shooting, like the way, the look of it in like the control room with the marshal character, and he's got the suit, the military uniform on. I just kept thinking of those scenes in the submarine. Okay, if you don't know who the Asylum is, the Asylum, I believe, was responsible for Sharknado, the most recent Asylum production, but they'll make a copycat movie, extremely low budget. It's a junk movie, it's a piece of crap. They'll make a copycat movie of a Hollywood movie, and they have a submarine set, and they use it in every movie.
Yes.
So it's like Sharktopus, Sharkopolis, giant squid versus so-and-so, and everything you could possibly imagine, they'll whip it out.
They do have a knockoff of Pacific Rim as well.
That thing just touched down south of New York. We're all gonna die.
He is a reckless liability.
But he's the best we've got.
It's called Atlantic Rim, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
No, it doesn't. They don't care.
They don't care.
And I think some of it had to do with the fact that the cast was all kind of no-names. And there were two guys that looked similar to each other. They were like,
yes. You're talking about the main guy and then the Australian guy,
Yes,
right? They
yes.
look like the exact same person.
yeah, they look like generically handsome soap opera actor man.
One was doing a bad fake Australian accent, while the other one was doing a bad fake American accent.
Yes, yeah. And I was like, who's who? After the beginning, I didn't know which brother got killed, the younger one or the older one. I just knew someone got pulled out of a robot. And then some of those scenes, they were kind of lacking in a real like visual style. They just felt really kind of flat, even color, temperature on the film, and it just looked, everything just kind of looked kind of dull. But overall, the movie was good.
Well, I would say I thought the movie was really, really good. I liked it a lot. I did not love it, and I kind of wanted to love it. I was rooting for this movie, and there's a lot of people that are really into it and do seem to really love it. They're calling it like a modern-day Star Wars and things like that, which I think is a little overblown.
There were a lot of Star Wars references.
There's lots of references to a lot of things, but I think it comes from the idea that there's sort of building an entire universe in this movie. It takes place in later in this ongoing war with these creatures. It's not, in a more conventional movie, I think the opening prologue establishing how the world has become what it is, like that would have been the whole movie. And I like that this takes place later down the road. We're in bad shape. The program, the Jaeger program, the robots that are designed to fight monsters, that's being shut down because everything feels futile. So I like where the movie takes place in this sort of larger story.
Yeah, I like the fact that I wasn't expecting it. I sat down to watch it in the first 3 minutes. The prologue is here's what happened over the last, and that kind of, because we talked about disaster porn, and that sort of took that element away from it, because you're sick of seeing movies where it's like, here comes the creature. Oh no, look, it's destroying the Golden Gate Bridge. Oh no, look, it's doing, and so they the fact that they skipped all that and went straight to the post plot as far as that goes, like we're in the midst of a war and everything's the whole world economy has changed, the whole structure of how everyone lives has changed because of these monsters. Kind of it changed the dynamic of the story. It's like, this is about this. It's not look, shock, oh gosh, look at this monster coming.
Well, it almost seemed to be, I don't know if it was intentional, but it almost seemed to be sort of making fun of the disaster porn movies, or it's like you'd see the Golden Gate Bridge get destroyed, but it's just in a quick cutaway as they're talking about other things or establishing this larger world.
Today, at the edge of our hope, end of our time, we have chosen to believe in each other.
What kept me from really loving the movie was the extremely thin characters.
When I watched a monster movie, the big money shot for me was the monster.
Which is not bad in and of itself. You could have, I mean, the whole movie sort of feels like it's very simple. It's sort of a throwback movie. The characters have very simple dynamics, and that's fine. But there's lots of bizarre things where it feels like things that are set up that don't pay off. There's things where there's like a bizarre payoff to it, but it's not something that was set up. An example of that would be there's the Australian characters, the father and son, and the father gets injured at a certain point, so he can't go on the big final mission at the end of the movie. And there's this whole scene where he says to the Marshall character, like, take care of him, he's my son. My son. And it's like, are they supposed to be saying like he finally trusts his son? It's like one of those things where you would establish earlier in the movie that he doesn't have confidence in his son or something like that, but that's not set up. There's like one line where he says something about he thinks his kid's kind of an asshole, but that's it. There's the dynamic with the main character where they make comments about how he's a loose cannon, you know, the typical, that type of character, but that doesn't really have anything to do with the rest of the movie. So it's things like that, where it's like you can have these thin characters, but at least give them an arc of some sort, instead of just elements of characteristics.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that stood out to me. Like, a lot of technical things that are great with this movie, and that's where it really shines, is you could tell Guillermo del Toro was really fond of the movie he was making. It didn't feel like a Michael Bay Transformers movie.
There's not an ounce of cynicism in this movie, and that's the best thing about it.
Yeah, it's the subject matter is taken seriously, and it's unlike Transformers, you could tell what's happening on the screen. It's a robot fighting a monster, and you can see what's happening, and it's handled very well, and it's enthralling and exciting at times. You know, when they finally get that punch in on the monster.
And it's so awkward and slow. Like there's a weight to it, which makes it fun.
It's not all like noise, and you're just like, oh, stop. And that's all there. But in addition to that, you wanted more clearer characters. You wanted more realistic characters, and the whole like, you're a loose cannon, father, son, and that's where it starts to feel like a sci-fi channel movie.
Yeah, well, I think I know what he was going for. He was trying to make these sort of classic movie archetypes, but as I said, there's things that are set up that don't pay off and vice versa, so that sort of deflates that a little bit.
In the movie, the robot takes 2 pilots because it's too hard for one person to do it.
It's too hard on the brain because you have to mind meld with the
so
robot.
You have to have some sort of connection with your co-pilot in order to make the robot work. And that was, of course, 2 brothers are perfect. You know, they're very similar people or whatever. And then this one, since his brother died, he goes running off and doing other things. And then he has to find a co-pilot, and instead of like there being some sort of hesitation with the Mako character, he's like gung-ho for her to be the co-pilot, and that could have had some interesting like conflict. Those 2 characters not really liking each other, wanting to work together, and in the end they do. Yeah. It's a movie about teamwork. The whole movie's about teamwork. Whether it's Charlie and the British scientist guy working together to tap into the kaiju's brain, or two pilots. It's a movie about teamwork and loyalty. It's also a movie about punching giant sea monsters.
There is so much punching in this movie.
I wonder if they were going for like a cornball type script or characters, you know?
Well,
like,
the movie is corny, but it's corny in a way where it's not like wink wink, like we're being over the top and
Yeah.
silly. It takes the material serious enough, but the concept is so goofy that it makes the whole movie fun.
yeah.
And there is that, you mentioned teamwork, there's a lot of, it's a really positive movie. And as we've talked about, a lot of movies lately are so like brooding and dark, and the heroes aren't really heroes. And this is a movie where it's people working together to overcome an outside threat. It's characters that, at the end of the movie, like all the main characters of the movie are basically willing to sacrifice their lives for the greater good. In a way that doesn't feel like schmaltzy or stupid or pandering.
It's a real matter of fact in its approach.
Yeah.
Like, here's what would probably happen if giant sea monsters came out and started smashing everything. And there's a little bit of politics in there where, like, the spineless politicians want to build the wall as opposed to the vulgar robot program. But, you know, and they're like, fuck you, we're going to keep punching these things with robots.
There was something I was hoping that they showed early on, I was hoping there'd be more of, that kind of had a RoboCop vibe to it, where they established, like, oh, the Jaeger program is failing, so we're going to build this giant wall. And then all the people that are building the giant wall see on the news a giant wall that they're building in Sydney, Australia, and then the monster just bursts through it immediately. And they're like, why are we wasting all this time?
Yeah.
There's sort of a satirical element to that I wish was in the rest of the movie, but...
Yeah, I would have been happy if they focused on more of the economical, political element of how do we survive in a world where every so often a giant sea monster comes out and starts smashing everything. Because that part, I was more interested in it than the interplay between the stock characters.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you have to accept the cornball nature of it. Because the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm watching, I'm like, yeah, building giant robots to punch the sea monsters is pretty cool, but they could have expelled all that effort into building millions of very small planes that could shoot highly powered rockets at these things.
Yeah.
Instead of one giant robot. It'd probably work better, but the movie's about giant, big-ass, awesome robots punching monsters.
Exactly.
We need a weapon that can react and grapple with the kaiju. We rigged the entire sets to vibrate, to shake, to give you the real perspective of what it would be to be inside that robot.
So this might be the first big movie in a long time where it was very excessive. The action there was lots of destruction and things like that, but where I actually wanted to see more of it.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing because usually I'm like, oh, it goes on forever. They get tired, you get tired of them. But with this one, it's like, I want to see more cities get destroyed. I want to see more robots defending these cities. I wish there was more of that in the movie.
Yeah, they give you a little tease and they don't overdo it.
Yeah.
You see some of the other robots, some of the other robot pilots. And there's a long stretch in this movie without action, which they take time for character building. Unfortunately, it's not the strongest character building.
I appreciate the effort, but
Effort is
the execution
appreciated,
isn't the best. And there's a nice little moment I noticed there's a great extended fight scene in Hong Kong, which is sort of the big centerpiece action scene of the movie. And there's a part where the giant robot is walking down the street, and there's like an overpass, and I was just waiting for him to break through it, to just plow through it. And he takes the time to step over it. It's a little silly because right when he steps over it, where his foot lands, just completely destroys the street underneath it. But the fact that he's thinking about that.
Two pilots, our minds, our memories, connected. And man and machine become one.
Speaking of the robots,
They're called Jaegers in this film.
they're called Jaegers, which they tell you means, is in German, means hunter.
Yes.
So, of course, we brought out our bottle of Jägermeister. And if you didn't know, Jägermeister means master hunter in German, hence the picture of the deer. So let's have a shot of this alcohol beverage.
I think a fun drinking game for the Pacific Rim movie is every time they say the word Jaeger, you take a shot of Jaeger. You'll be drunk within the first 5 minutes.
You'll be dead. before
You'll be
the
dead by
movie
the end of the
ends.
movie.
So caution, please don't play said drinking game. Said drinking game was not authorized by Red Letter Media Incorporated. I mean, Lightning Fast VCR Incorporated. We hold no responsibility if you try said drinking game that Jay Bauman mentioned. Yeah, lots of robots, and the robots are cool. I think this movie is a winner.
It is. It's a breath of fresh air. It's okay with being corny and I don't want to say a smaller story in a larger universe because the whole thing is sort of wrapped up at the end, but it is at least an established universe. And there's nice little touches like Hong Kong. There's a section in the slums where years ago a kaiju had been defeated and the bones just stayed there and they rebuilt the city around it. You've got Ron Perlman as like a kaiju black market guy and lots of nice little touches like that.
Yeah, it does a good job of establishing the environment and the history.
And everything feels lived in.
Yeah.
Nothing feels shiny and new.
Right. That gives it that Star Wars-y quality. And it has that kind of like, with Star Wars, you always watch it and you go, I wish I lived in that universe. And even though this is a world where robots and monsters are destroying everything, you kind of feel like, hey, I wish I was a robot pilot. Yeah. And it almost just brings back a little bit of that childhood excitement.
Well, this is definitely a movie for 12-year-olds. 12-year-olds will fucking love this movie.
It's not really super ultra-violent or scary or anything like that. It's a good, what is it, PG-13, I assume?
Yeah.
It's a good movie, and toys of Pacific Rim should be flying off the shelves. But they're probably not.
No, they're not, because the bigger movie was Grown Ups 2. So maybe Adam Sandler poop toys are flying off the shelf.
This entire set would shake and would be able to drop 15 feet really rapidly for the drop of the head. The actors were in for a ride. It was like a little amusement park simulator.
So, Mike, would you recommend Pacific Rim?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
We probably should have recommended it a week ago when it maybe would have helped, because now the movie's not doing great.
Go see Pacific Rim.
If you haven't seen it already, if you were on the fence about seeing it, go see it. It's good. It's entertaining, and a movie like this deserves to do better.
And you may even feel some emotion at the end.
Yeah.
For the characters who sacrifice themselves to save the world, for characters that have become attached to each other. You may feel something in your heart, unlike a Transformers movie, where all you can feel is Eugene Levy's bowel movement.
Eugene Levy isn't in those movies.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that the designs of the robots weren't too crazy. There was only one where it was a Japanese robot, I think, and there were 3 operators because it had 3 arms.
Right.
And one of the arms, the hand turned into spinning blades, or it was a little, but it wasn't like, I can't tell what's happening.
Right.
What's happening?
And they don't have an endless supply of weapons and things they can do. The most exciting part of the movie is when they realize that they have a sword. And they say, fuck, let's use the sword.
I don't know what it is that's missing from this. I think as far as audiences go and watching this movie, it's the reasons why it's not doing really great. One is because Grown Ups 2 came out in theaters, and everyone has to see that. If you got your choice, you go see Grown Ups 2. But I think a lot of it might be big dumb fatigue.
Possibly, because you look at this movie and it looks, not that it's an intelligent movie, but it's intelligently made and it's a lot of fun. But I think people look at it and they say, oh, it's like another Transformers movie.
Yeah, or a Battleship.
Yeah, or a Battleship
similar
type
things.
movie.
Creatures in the ocean, aliens in the ocean that are smashing things, and
Yeah.
they go, oh, I don't want to watch that. And people are so accustomed to big dumb, that they might stray away from this.
Yeah.
And it's called Pacific Rim.
Yeah, the title doesn't really tell you what it is. You know, Transformers, well, I recognize that title, obviously. You know what they should have called this movie?
Wow.
Grown Ups 2.